I've got brake problems. When I bought the van, it would barely stop. I installed all new pads and rotors and replaced the brake fluid, and the van still wouldn't stop. Turns out the vacuum pump and hoses were all bad. Once I got it all fixed, the brakes finally worked. But the anti-lock braking system warning light has been on the entire time, and as we head into winter, I want to get that fixed. I determined that the problem was a bad ABS sensor. Stick around and I'll show you how I fixed it. I'm getting an ABS light, and 4Scan tells me that it's the front right, so passenger side, sensor. So looking from the back behind, this right here is the sensor. The wiring comes up and plugs in right here. Here's looking at it from the front. And so the sensor's right here. The bummer is that it's bolted in on the other side, so I actually have to take the rotor off. It's possible that the problem is just in the connection, but given that the van has 325,000 miles, I'm just going to replace the part. So here's the new one. So now I just have to take the van apart. To remove the rotor, I need to remove the caliper and the caliper bracket. Now, I just did a brake job, so I'm going to try leaving the caliper on the bracket and remove it as one unit. I've got a box over here and a piece of wire, so I can wire that up so it's not hanging from the brake line. I'm going to disconnect the ABS line, the ABS sensor, before I go any further so that that's not hanging things up. So that's just a bunch of clips there. Now that's free, and I can go ahead and unbolt this. It's a 21mm socket. I've got a breaker bar here. We'll give it a go and see how that goes. We'll set that there so it's supported. Okay, next off, I have to remove this cap. That's just going to be by tapping with a hammer on the rim, like so. Now we have a little cotter pin that needs to come out, and we need to loosen this whole setup. So here I need to remove the cotter pin, remove this flange, and then loosen the nut. And it's good to get that nut back into the exact same position when you put it back on. Now I can go ahead and remove this rotor. When I do, the wheel bearing is going to come out with it. All that just to get to these two bolts. Give you a closer look here. So that's our speed sensor. You can see it's all corroded. I should have just replaced it earlier. But yeah, just two bolts should be all it needs. Pop that off and put the new one in. These are just an 8mm socket. Hold one out. New one is an exact match. So we'll go ahead and bolt that up. Well, I snapped that old rusted bolt off, so I'm off to the hardware store to get a bolt extractor. So I went ahead and removed the speed sensor, and here's my broken bolt. I got the other one out and confirmed the sizing. It is M6 by 12 millimeter with a 1 pitch. And so I got replacements for those, and now I just need to extract this broken bolt. See if it gives us enough grab. Do. It's moving. There we go. Every time I do a project, I think we're only one broken bolt away from being a 3-day epic. Fortunately, this one wasn't so bad. I made a real mess of this spindle here, so I'm going to clean that up with some brake cleaner, and then we'll get things put back together. Okay, now we can get that new speed sensor mounted up. Nice and snug, not too tight. Here's the connector. It's up on the frame, and it just popped apart really quite easily. I was saying it should come apart pretty easily, but I actually had to get a pair of pliers in there and break the plastic off. And now I can get that apart. And that connector was filthy, so I'm going to get in here and clean that with some deoxit. And then I'll use a little dielectric, just to be sure those connections stay good. All hooked up. Now that the new speed sensor is mounted, I just have to put the van back together. I'll lube the spindle, remount the rotor and wheel bearings, reattach the caliper and caliper brackets, clean everything, and then remount the tire and the wheel. And after swapping the sensor, the ABS lights off and the code is clear. Boy, it feels good to clear out another error code. Fortunately for you all, this van keeps giving me projects, so I will have another one for you next week. In the meantime, if you found these helpful, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That keeps it worth my while to keep producing these videos. And thanks again, we'll see you again soon.